Hello, and welcome to the Self-Reliant Mind and Body channel called welladjustedliving.com. And today I want to discuss a bit about the concept of a truth sheet. And if you think about an athlete, they have like a playbook for all the plays that they use in the game, the choices they have. Or think of an accountant who has a financial statement, a financial sheet that has all your assets and liabilities, and they can figure out and follow the trail of the money and figure out what's going on with that part of your life. Well, I use this truth sheet with clients as a life balance sheet. What would you really need to know about your life right now to understand its condition? That's the idea. So a truth sheet points your direction forward because it creates a life playbook, and it's a personalized course correction guide because it's something you can continuously review and refine. See, we're all the architects of our own lives, and we design our lives by knowing what we want and why. And this is the awareness that automatically generates momentum and direction through your declaration of what you want. And typically we start with a vision reflecting our life purpose, and the truth sheet will help provide opportunities to uncover the urgency of your life. And when you document and track your goals, you facilitate more active self-discipline. And your life is going to build a stronger foundation as you prioritize and schedule time to facilitate what's important for you. And a truth sheet also documents obstacles and the purposes they serve, and the experiences they provide, and the beliefs they challenge, and the lessons that they teach. So we're going to articulate your life and your process in written form. And one of the key elements is understanding what are your assets and your liabilities. Now, assets include specific skill sets you possess, say regarding your career or everyday life, and also positive personality attributes. This could be you have a good job or a nice home, or you have quality family or personal relationships. Assets reflect your natural abilities and enhance your life. Basically, assets are what you have going for you. On the other hand, liabilities include specific skill sets you lack regarding your career and everyday life. Think of it sort of like having blind spots, because we all have them, and knowing what they are and when they tend to show up is absolutely valuable. Liabilities will also cover problematic personality attributes. And if you have any questions about that, your family or friends, if they're honest with you, can help dial you in on that one. Now, this could be an undesirable job, or you have discordance at home, or just your relationships are generally unsatisfying. But liabilities reflect what need revision in your life and where help would most benefit you. Now, the assets and liabilities of life and personality are interwoven. For example, good listeners often don't speak up for themselves. Great helpers often have difficulty asking for help. People who are quite sensitive are easily overwhelmed and distracted. So every attribute comes with pluses and minuses, and we want to discern what yours are. I mean, even the life of the party, which is quite an enviable thing at times for the rest of us to see, that type of a person, but also recognize that many of them can't handle being alone. So it's like life itself. We can look at gravity. And if we didn't have gravity, the physical universe would be in incomprehensible chaos. But gravity also makes us shorter over time. It weighs us down, and it certainly provides a challenge whenever we fall or try to lift a heavy object or when something falls on us. So gravity has assets and liabilities. Now we make decisions, and when we make decisions, they have assets and liabilities. So for example, moving around versus staying in the same place. There's advantages and disadvantages to both of those choices. Having one career over another. The idea even of a steady paycheck versus more control and possibility and risk of working for yourself. I can think of a couple for the body. Number one would be being double jointed. Being double jointed is a gift. And people who are double jointed are loose and flexible, and their bodies stay very soft and supple, and they just have a beautiful sense of fluidity. It's amazing, but there's a liability attached with it. Many people who are double jointed or extremely flexible that way, their joints are not stable. So in other words, if you load their joint up through a lot of physical work, say heavy weight or chronic activity, or something acute like they fall, their body does not handle that well, and they get sprains and strains very easily. And because their joints are not stable, they have to make sure when they do exercise and do movement, they do it very correctly and keep their form very good. Otherwise, they're going to exacerbate the condition. Another example would be body types. So think of a mesomorph, and that would be somebody who's like thick and lots of muscle. And you see a lot of those people in the gym. And it's almost like they can just look at the weight and they put on muscle. And it's not quite like that, but you know what I'm saying? They're like, the muscles come so easily. But there's one exercise that they must learn, and it's called pushing from the table. Because people who have that body composition have a tendency to get bigger and bigger and bigger. And if they don't learn to push from the table, if they don't learn to manage their portions, they got a liability facing them. You contrast that with somebody like me. Every bit of muscle I got, I had to work for it. And I mean extra, a lot. Because my body isn't designed for it. And there's only a point that I can put on so much muscle, and then I have to spend all my time in the refrigerator and all my energy digesting food. I don't want to do that. But the upside for me is I never have to worry about pushing away from the table, because that's not an issue for me. I have a fast metabolism. I can eat a lot, and my appetite tends to be self-regulating because I exercise regularly. So there are a few exceptions with the body, genetic freaks, but likely you, and certainly I, are not one of them. So our bodies have assets and liabilities, just like our life condition. We could think of highly intellectual people, and they can use their minds very constructively, but sometimes their minds get in the way, too much thinking. And it certainly has been my experience that over the long haul, the long haul, sometimes life favors the simple-minded approach over the complex. Sometimes logical thinkers find it hard to be creative and think outside the box. We talked about that in the creative process program, where you learn to move between the right and left sides of your brain. Very helpful. Very, very helpful. And sometimes hard workers don't rest enough because they keep going and going and going, and they never take time off. You ever notice how for some people, the only time they get off is when they get sick? Or it's like they go on vacation and their body and their mind and everything just lets down and they get sick. It's because they need rest. Assets and liabilities, work hard, but you got to have downtime. So as we go through life, we recognize many of our liabilities, hopefully, and some of them result from early conditioning, unfortunately, or traumas, also unfortunate, but they can also contain assets. Now, the liabilities impacted us immediately. The assets may be delayed until later, after we get over the liability. So this is what overcoming is all about. This is the difference between being a victim of what happened versus being a survivor. So, on that note, we have the homework bell, and take a note. So 2 questions. If you were filling out a truth sheet with me as a client, we'd be talking right now about listing what your primary assets are. And the list is long, and I'm here to tell you that. And sometimes with clients that don't think they're very long, once I get going on it, we get it long, because you've got them. Some of them aren't as obvious, but they're there. Be open to it. And then also, let's look at our liabilities. And let's be honest about them. Now, one thing I want to say about the bigger concept about assets and liabilities is that in life, we often play to our assets. And certainly we do that in business or our careers. We find what we're good at and we work that way, and we stay away from what's not so good for us or what we're not so good at. The body's very different. The key with self-reliance and longevity and sustainability with your body is to work your liabilities, not your assets. The assets are fine. They won't need much maintenance. The liabilities need work. I hope that makes sense. And I hope you enjoyed the video to the point that you like the video and subscribe to the channel. And send us a comment or two about your favorite asset or liability. And we look forward to seeing you in the next video. So let's get out there and enjoy the game of life.